Hi, Marci.
Hi, Gloria. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Gabbing with Girlfriends. And my girlfriend, again, is my niece, Marci. Um, I'm trying so hard to remember where we left off. It seemed like we talked about so much, but barely scratched the surface. So I'm going to be winging it, the first part, because I really can't remember where we left off.
Well, we had a great discussion. I have to tell you
We
about
did.
a little feedback that I got
Oh, yes, please.
from some friends. You may recall that I mentioned something about men our age,
Yeah.
maybe not keeping themselves up. And you were very quiet when I talked about that. I had more people contact my own friends contact me and say, "Oh my God, you were ageist and you were sexist."
Oh,
But
my
all
God.
like, and Gloria didn't even call you out on it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. So let's make it perfectly clear. I love men. There's no doubt about that. I might have just been making a comment based on my own experiences, but
But
is it?
that's very funny. And I hope your friends that said that were joking with you because I didn't take it. I didn't call you out on it because to me, that's a really, I'm not very woke anyway, but
Yeah,
to me, that's very matter of fact. That wasn't even a matter. To me, that wasn't
to me,
anything that wasn't PC. It just was matter of fact.
yeah, to me it was, and I sure didn't think of it as ageist since I was talking about men my own age, but anyway, that's certainly not true of all men. I am certain that there are men my age that are in great shape. So we'll leave it at that. And I do like men. So there you go. There you go.
Um, yeah, well, there's a lot of women that are your age. I can't say our age because I'm older, but there's a lot of women in
You're like a
your
few months older. You are our age. You're a few months older.
But there's women that don't take care of themselves at any age, and there's
Right.
men that don't take care of themselves at any age.
Absolutely right.
Which, if anybody's listening to this that is under 30 or 40,
Yeah.
start taking care of yourself because it gets harder the older you get.
It
So
does. And the
start.
earlier you start taking care of yourself, the better you're going to look when you get to be this age. That we
Yeah,
can
because
assure you.
that's there's less to take care of then because it's already
Exactly.
taken care of.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So true. So
so
true.
who else should we lecture today?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's a good start, I think. That's a very good
Okay. Yes, everybody take care of yourselves. Do those sit-ups or whatever it is you do.
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
what is your exercise of choice?
I do some strength training and I love cycling. That's my passion, love, although I haven't done as much of it in the last year as I'd like to be doing. But also, I walk every single day. I walk, I get my 10,000 steps in. So I happen to live in a beautiful place that has some walking trails. And so I'm able to do a lot of walking. So I do that. But I do strength training at least 2 days a week. And
I
that's really important as well.
Yeah, I that's the one thing I do as well is get my steps in. I'll
Yeah.
find if I'm really close and it's bedtime, I'll pace.
Yeah.
I'll
I was
pace to
doing
get
it
them
last
in.
night. I was doing it last night. Like sometimes you just have to, right?
Yeah, yeah, you do. But I used to really love spinning. Like I really
Oh, did
loved
you?
it.
Did you?
Um, until I messed up not one but two knees. And
Oh,
I can't be sure that that's how I did it because I don't know how I did it. I just one
right.
day had a bad knee and went to the doctors who said I had a torn meniscus. And
Yeah.
then a year later, whatever, went back to the doctor with a different doctor with a different bad knee. And again, didn't know how that had happened either. So I just don't bother spinning anymore because I'm running out of knees.
Yeah, you're
So
scared. Usually cycling is good. Of course, you can have an injury anywhere, but cycling is usually good. And I did do a few spin classes, but I like being outside so much. And I happen to live somewhere where you can ride your bike
mm,
outside almost 12 months of the year. In the heat of the summer, I do crazy things. I shouldn't be riding when it's 105 degrees, but I do
no,
that.
you shouldn't.
No, I shouldn't. No, it did occur to me. I think it was last summer when I was riding, it was 105 degrees. I kind of went, if I ended up in an emergency room, any doctor would look at me and say, what are you doing riding? And, they're going to have no compassion whatsoever because I'm not doing something that's smart. But thankfully, nothing happened.
Well,
And,
thankfully.
and all is good. All is
Do you know
good.
I can't ride a bike? How sad is that?
Because of your knees?
No, because I don't know how.
Oh my gosh. Seriously.
Seriously. And I did ride when I was little because I had a bike.
Yeah.
So I did ride, but I couldn't do it now if I had to. And
That's very interesting. That's very rare, you know.
bad.
I mean, plenty of people this age don't ride bikes anymore, but to not know how is unusual.
But don't they say once you can ride a bike, you can always ride a bike?
Yeah. It's
Not
like
true.
it's like
Totally
riding a
not
bike.
true.
Oh, that's
Um,
interesting. I
But
always
Terry learned as an adult. He couldn't ride a bike as a child, and I guess when he was maybe 40, he learned. And we were in England, and we lived on a really tiny, tiny, narrow street. And he was getting really good whizzing up and down the street.
Oh, yeah.
And I hadn't seen him do it. I knew he did it because he'd come home and tell me very
Yeah.
enthusiastically. And then one day I was leaving while he was out riding his bike, and I saw him whizzing down the lane, and I honked because I was so excited, and it scared him, and he fell off, and he wouldn't ride again for ages.
Oh, no. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
funny. Well, so what about your boys? Did you teach your boys to ride?
Well, kind of. I guess my husband did, or they just learned. But
Yeah, kids
for
will do
both,
that. Sometimes
yeah,
they just learn.
Biff could ride, and I don't know that James can. He must be able to. I know Jessica can really ride, but I don't really know that. I don't know if he can't or just doesn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, could be. There's plenty of people that are like that. Both of my sons ride a lot. Of course, they live in Colorado, and they ride. They're about to ride something that's called the triple bypass. It's 100 miles, and you go up and over 3 mountain passes. And
no way.
yeah, they do crazy things like that. They're kind of crazy
I
out.
mean, I knew the crazy part, but I didn't know that. So how long does that take?
Well, I mean, they do it in a day. I have no idea how many hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, something like that. I mean, they ride fast, and they're in very, very good shape. But although they would train for this, they're training for it. I think it's in about 6 weeks or something.
Wow.
It's called the triple bypass. You can look it up online.
But you do it in a day. You just do it.
Oh, yeah,
It's not like you do
No, and they
12 miles
actually
a day and 50 miles the next day. It's a day.
It's a day. It's a day, and they actually have a cutoff. If you don't make it to certain parts by certain times, you're out. You know,
Wow.
you can't take 15 hours to do it. They're not going to, I mean, because you're riding on roads, streets. And so they can't block traffic and so forth for a long time.
Indefinitely. Have they done this before? This one?
They've not done this one. They've done other ones like it, and they'll be fine. I mean, they train for it. They spend about 6 weeks getting ready for it. They'll be really good. I mean, it's challenging. It's not that
Oh, I'm
this is
sure.
easy.
And are they competitive with it, with each other, or no?
Well, no, they ride together. I don't know. That's a really good question. They're competitive. They track everything, you know, like on their phones, they track everything, heart rate, best time, but they're almost 10 years difference in age, just because I had them 10 years apart. And so they're not, I don't know, they're a little bit competitive because they'll give each other a hard time, like, I did better than you and I'm 10 years older, or of course you did better than me because you're 10 years younger, that sort of thing. But I think when they're writing something that serious, I think they're together. Although if one of them really, really is lagging behind, I think the other one would leave. And unless they were needed help or something, they're never going to leave each other in that case. But anyway.
And when they ski, do they ski competitively with each other or no? They do?
Well, they ski together. Well, one's on a snowboard, one's on skis, but they do a lot of
I didn't know that.
skiing where they hike up. Well, they both can ski, but one of them prefers skiing, one of them prefers snowboarding. But they do crazy stuff where you ride up to the top of a lift and then you hike up way further to go to the back country. And they do that together. And I don't think they're competing when they do that. I mean, I think they're trying to survive and they're having fun and they're just doing things that I don't even want to see because.
Oh, no, I'm sure.
I would not sleep at night. I just tell them, tell me after. Don't tell me before. Tell me after you've done it.
Of course. So where they ski, presumably you could ski and snowboard the same mountains.
Yeah, most are like that now. There's only a few in Utah.
Canton Park City,
Canton
Park City.
Park City's one of the last. And what's
maybe that's why people like that so much, because a lot of skiers don't want the snowboarders.
Exactly. And I understand it. I'm a skier, not a snowboarder. I've never put on a snowboard. Never.
I want my grandkids to try that next year.
They will. I mean, they're old enough. Yeah, it's time.
And I think they're curious. I don't think their mom's excited about them trying it and liking it.
Yeah.
But but they're the age where they should
Oh,
try now because
it's a good family sport. I married my ski instructor many, many years ago. My late husband was my ski instructor, but I met him at college and I kind of followed him up and got myself into a ski class. He knew my personality, like that's my person. I'm going to make it happen. And I made it happen. Anyway, it was,
so you did it on purpose?
yeah. Oh yeah. And so,
Were you already an excellent skier and pretended to not be?
I'm a total beginner, total beginner, but very competitive and very determined to learn how to do it. But what's the funny thing is, so we dated 3 years. I mean, we were young when we met, and then we got married. And year 10, so we've been married 7 years. We're like riding up the chairlift, and I look over at him and I said, "It's not fun anymore. You're trying to teach me every single run." And I said, "It was fun for a long, long time, but I've like leveled out. I'm an intermediate skier. I'm never going to be an expert skier. Like give up on that. And I just want to have fun." He looked at me and he's like, "Oh, okay." And he never taught me again. And I had a lot more fun once he quit teaching me.
Oh, that's funny.
So
That's really
for a
funny.
long time I needed it, but then I got to a level and I leveled off and I was never going to get any better. I knew I was, and I didn't want to. It was fine. I can ski blue runs. I can ski intermediate. It's perfectly fine. But anyway, so he quit. He was just like, "Oh, I didn't know."
Now you tell me.
I know, 10 years
funny.
in, but
That's
I
funny.
wasn't thinking about it most of that time. Only at the end, I just thought this just isn't fun anymore because I am competitive. Like I'm trying to get better. I'm not getting, haven't gotten any better in years. Like, let's just have fun and not try to be better. And it was so much better after that.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I used to always say, if I could redo my life all over again, I wouldn't change a thing, because I think people think they're supposed to say that. But now I really sit back and I think, what would I do? And I'll tell you what I would do. I would have learned to ski as a youngster.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I am so sorry that I can't ski.
Yeah.
And I did take a lesson as a grown-up, like as a real grown-up, like a couple years ago. And it was disastrous. It was just putting on the boots freaked me out. Like it was the most claustrophobic, hideous thing I had ever done. And I think probably if I was anesthetized and somebody else put on my boots, it probably would have made it a whole lot easier for me.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that if I could redo my life all over again.
You'd learn. And I didn't learn as a child, but I was in college. I was still a teenager in college when I learned.
That's a child.
I'm glad.
That is a child.
I'm glad I learned then, because I wouldn't learn now. And then, I don't ski that much now. A little bit. And I want to teach my little grandchildren. They're still a little small, but I want to teach them, or want to be with them when they're learning.
So how old is that?
3 and almost 2.
But what's a good age for?
To start? Well, we started my oldest son when he was 2, which was much more about, we were really young and it was what we wanted to do. When I look back on it, that was way too young.
Mm-hmm.
But he then is the father of my grandchildren, and my granddaughter, they started last year when she was 2. Oh. But I mean like once a year, and I mean like 30 minutes. That's it. We were doing crazier things than that I look back now, it was really all about us, but we were so young, we just didn't. We were doing what we wanted to do, and we just brought him along.
And it didn't hurt. Look at him now.
I think that, but we waited on our second son. We waited till he was older, and he's just as good. I think maybe 5 or 6 is about right. It depends on the child. If you've got a real athletic child, you could, or if you live up there, if you live up in the mountains, you can start younger. But if you're going on 2 or 3 or 1 ski trip a year, I think more like 5, 6. Some people even say 7, something.
And I believe that, because one of my granddaughters, I guess she was 5 or maybe just turned 6, and she loves doing anything. She's super athletic, super, brave and experimental and happy to she's a little tomboy. She didn't like skiing.
Oh, she didn't?
Yeah, it didn't work for her. So she didn't go again this year, because she really didn't like it last year. Yeah. I think next year she's going to. She'll be that age where.
Oh, when she's got friends that are doing it, that will make all the difference. When she goes with brings a friend with her, or her friends, their families go together or something, that'll make all the difference. Because then you want to do it with a friend. that's when it really, and the other thing I noticed with both my boys was puberty. Puberty was when they got really, really good. I mean, they were okay. They were doing all right. They were having fun. But then puberty hit, and I mean, just like overnight, they're really, really good. So there's just something about that physical maturity, just physical maturity. I think you just get bigger, your muscles get better, bigger, for boys especially. And that was a turning point for them. But anyway, all fun.
So you went to see Taylor Swift too.
Oh, I did. Oh my gosh. And I am
and
not
your top was so nice, by the way. It looked like a proper fancy top. Did look like it was off Amazon.
No, it wasn't even off Amazon.
No,
it was like a discount place that on the way to the concert, like I don't have anything shiny, sparkly, and you got to sparkle, you got to glitter for Taylor. So we stopped at a discount store that will remain unnamed, but like a Marshall's, TJ Maxx, that type of place. On the way to the concert, we stop. I go running in, and my niece, who's a young adult, she's just out of college, but she's like always looks so cute, and she's with me, and we're like just racing through racks of clothes looking for anything that will fit me that's glittery. We found 2 or 3 things, and I bought that top, $16.99, silver.
And you can wear it again. Looking at it on the picture, you can wear it again.
It's cute. It's
really
actually cute, and it worked perfect for Taylor Swift.
Yeah, you look really nice. I couldn't believe it when we pulled up and we're watching people go into the venue, all the sequins and everybody in their black and pink, and everybody just, I was
so
like,
cute.
I didn't know. It's so cute, but I didn't really I know my granddaughters dress the part, but I just figured they dress the part. But I didn't know that's a thing.
Everybody does.
Yes, I didn't know.
Second time to go see Taylor Swift, although for complicated reasons, I didn't get to stay very long at the last time. So, I mean, I saw part of the concert last time. This time we stayed the whole time, and she had 2 warm-up acts. And then she sang for a solid, I'm not kidding, 3 hours and 10 minutes.
I know.
And I mean, no intermission, no costume changes, but costume changes were
fast.
Well, she goes down into the ground and then she comes back up like she's got a whole team of people obviously changing her. But it was remarkable. I just don't know how anyone can sing for 3 hours and 15 minutes.
It was so impressive. We didn't make it to the end. I mean,
because it's long.
Terry and I didn't, but everybody else did. But it's really so impressive. And the production was beyond impressive.
Beyond.
Like I still can't get over the wristbands, but that's a whole nother story.
I know. No, the wristbands are awesome. And how about like the moss covered piano? I loved the moss covered piano. And I loved it. Well, and the fact, okay, so how did I not know this, but I didn't know this. She released 4 albums.
I didn't know either.
4, and they're all sort of different. One is more Americana, folk music, whatever. One's a little more country. One's a little, pop. One's like EDM. Like, oh my gosh, what kind of talent is that? And what kind of songwriting talent is that?
No kidding. No kidding. Yeah. So I think she's gorgeous, and her voice is amazing, and her songwriting abilities next level, and
it really is.
Production manager, her set designer is
incredible. I can't even imagine how much equipment they have to do this.
I keep meaning to ask somebody how many trucks they go out with, because it's just crazy. But yeah, loved it. But it's going to make it real hard for me to want to go to see anybody else, because
I know
now I need that kind of entertainment. Yeah. I need to be.
The other thing, Gloria, you're so much more experienced at this than I am, but there was no encore, which was fine after 3 hours and 10 minutes. But is that a thing now that artists don't do encores? I really haven't seen that. I mean, where the crowd's going crazy and you don't come back for an encore? Is that a thing?
I don't know. It might be a pop thing. Definitely not a rock thing. And I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, I've just never seen it. I've never seen it before. And it was just like house lights come on, full on. And you're like, wait, everybody's still screaming. Is there not going to be an encore? No encore. That's it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But 3 hours and 10 minutes, it was okay. No
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Okay. I
It's
have,
still, but I get the question. I didn't even know that because I
yeah.
didn't stay till the end, but it's very interesting.
Well, maybe
I
some
don't know.
people listening can give us an
Yeah.
answer to
Oh,
that.
yeah. Because, yeah, I wonder. So what else? What else has been new with you besides
Oh,
both of our,
finishing up the semester. Busy, busy the next
when did
couple
that
of weeks.
finish?
Yeah,
May?
I'll be done. Oh no, I'll be done by end of April.
Oh,
I'll be
wow.
done. In fact, I hope I'm done even a little bit earlier than the end of April. So finishing up, I've got 4 teams of graduate students working on projects for 4 different companies. And so they have collected data from consumers. That's about the best I can tell you. So anyway, so they're finishing up all of their analysis, all their data is collected. They're finishing up analysis and doing final presentations next week. And then it's grading, grading, grading. I've given my last exam, but I have a whole lot of grading. So next couple of weeks, busy, busy.
So the weekend of April 27th, is that
Yes.
a weekend? Is that some kind of school thing there? Something happening there?
I don't know, not that I know of.
Oh. Because my friend Vito is going down to see his daughter. I didn't know if it was a school thing or if it was just a
It's
thing
not
he's doing.
graduation. Graduation's a couple weeks after that. Oh, there might be some school thing going on that I don't know about, but not that I know of.
Oh, I don't even know why I said that. I don't even think she's still in school.
Oh, well, then it's something else going on.
When you
Something
said
else.
graduation, I'm thinking, oh, maybe she graduated already.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll change that subject.
Okay.
So what should we talk about? What would you like to talk about today?
I think we should talk about mothers, since we
Okay.
both have kind of unusual mother situations. You
We
lost
do.
your mother when you
And we're
were,
both mothers of 2 sons, which
We
is interesting too. 2
We
sons. We talk about moms.
and you lost your mother a long, long time ago.
I did.
And I lost my mother last fall. She lived a long life to 86 and was sick for many years before we lost her, but her mind was fine. But anyway, I never met your mother, my grandmother. I never met her. And so I wondered if you would tell me a little bit about her. What was she like?
Well, it's really hard because I think that because I was so young,
Mhm.
because I lost her when I was 17.
Yeah.
So, I was a child, but I didn't realize then because I was a child how sad of a life she had, because
Really?
her husband had left her for somebody else and had a family with somebody else.
Yeah.
And so she didn't really have anything. Like she really lived for her kids.
Yeah.
That was it. Lived for her kids. And I know all of us mothers say that, but she really did because that's all she
Because
had.
that was really all she had.
Yeah. And so my mom and I lived with my brother and his then wife. And that really wasn't
Who's
fun
my
for
father?
her. Yes.
Who is my father?
Yes. And
Okay.
and that couldn't be fun for her to, have me, a teenager, but I was like a teenager. I was a child. We lived with him
Yeah.
for years,
Yeah.
and and then to have to clean up after him and his wife and cook for them, and then they had a baby, and she never dated again. Probably because of what you said. Nobody her age would have been fit. No, I'm just
Yeah.
teasing. But she just, I think it was kind of a sad life.
Yeah.
And and I didn't understand then.
Well, you were a kid.
Yeah.
Of course you
But,
didn't understand.
But she suffered from depression, and people didn't really talk about that back then anyway. And I don't blame her. I don't blame her. I don't think, I mean, my brother was clearly not the most fun, landlord. Not that he was a landlord, but he's just, he wasn't an easy one. So,
It was
so yeah.
probably pushed on him, probably not what he wanted to do either, right?
Yeah, I think that it was just circumstances. It's just
Yeah.
one of those things where circumstances weren't in anybody's favor.
Right.
It just really wasn't a terribly pleasant. I don't think it was a pleasant, however many years, 10 years, and I should imagine her life long before that couldn't have been very pleasant either, knowing she had a husband that was unfaithful. Yeah, so sad. And it's sad that I don't know more about her. And I remember I used to really resent her wanting to know what me and my girlfriends were talking about or what me and my girlfriends
Oh,
were
yeah.
doing when we walked over to the playground or wherever we went to. And I used to think that was really intrusive. And now I'm sorry that I didn't share more now that I
Well,
realized
thank
that was all she
you.
had.
Yeah.
So, I don't really go through guilt anymore. But
Yeah.
every now and again, just even saying that, I think, what a shitty person I was.
You were a kid. You were a normal kid,
But
Gloria.
yeah, I mean, intellectually, I know that, but when you
I
think
know.
about it or say it, it's like, whoa. But yeah, I was kind of selfish. And so yeah, I don't really
Do you
know of or remember like
really good?
specific.
Do you have good memories of her when you were a small child? When
I
you
don't
were
really
young?
have memories of being small.
Oh, yeah.
I don't. I remember having appendicitis, so everybody thought, when I was
Oh, God.
4, and them chasing me around and me hiding and going to the hospital to find out it wasn't even my appendix, but they took them out anyways while I was there, which is what they used to do then.
Oh, my God.
But I think that might be I think that's my last memory or my only real distinct memory of Fort Worth
Yeah.
is having my appendix out. So yeah, sadly, I only know things I may have heard that I just don't have that kind of memory.
So how old were you when you left Fort Worth?
I think maybe 5, and then we
Yeah.
went and lived with Grace, my sister,
Yes.
in I guess Shreveport.
Oh, I didn't know Shreveport. Not to
Yeah.
St. Louis yet.
Yeah, no, I don't know if she couldn't take us anymore, or if my mom couldn't take them anymore, but then we
Oh.
moved on and ended up in St. Louis. But it was quite, oh no, it had to be it was probably 3 years of living with them because we lived in Columbus, Mississippi, and then Shreveport, Louisiana, and
Wow.
then St. Louis.
Yeah.
So,
And then you lost your mother suddenly, and it
mhm,
was a shock, just very difficult. It had to be very difficult.
mhm, it was. And yeah, and then I was, just ready to move on. I
Yep.
didn't want to stay living with my brother either. So,
So you did move on.
yeah. And we didn't fall out, but I know that there were a few years later on where he and I didn't really speak, but I don't know if it was really for a reason. Or maybe
Yeah.
just me moving and him moving.
And you get into your own lives at
Yeah.
that stage. I mean, I don't think that's uncommon among siblings. That's pretty common, right? You just kind of go your separate ways. But then as you get older, you maybe come back
Yeah.
together.
And Danielle, his daughter, your stepsister.
Yes.
And
Well, half sister. Half
oh yeah,
sister.
yeah. What's the difference?
Stepsister, you're not blood related to. I'm actually
Oh, that's right.
I'm blood related to
Yeah,
Danielle.
that's right.
Yeah.
So we were really close.
Oh, you
Super
were?
close. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I know,
That's
isn't that funny?
great.
We were. And we kind of lost touch too. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're my only family member I speak to. No, I'm just teasing.
Gosh.
Kind of. Gina,
Yeah.
I speak to, and her family. But
Yeah.
just move on. And some of
Yeah.
my family doesn't warrant my speaking to. So
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, there's always that. There's
Yeah.
always that.
there's always one, if not more.
In every
Yes.
family.
Yes.
Every family, and if not more. If
Do you
not
have siblings you don't speak to?
No, not right now. Not right now. But I've gone through periods, particularly as a young adult, as you were saying, when you moved on after you lost your mom. During that young adult period, it wasn't intentional. We just were all starting our lives out and going, and there are 6 of us, not counting my half sisters with your brother, my father. But there were 6 of us, and we just kind of were all doing our own thing. And I was the oldest of that 6. And so, yeah, there was a time period where I might see them once a year at Christmas or something, but not really close. We're all really close right now, I'm happy to say. I would
That's
say
so nice.
some closer than others, but most of us really, really close now. So,
And-
and losing our mother was, so my mother did live a long life.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if all of her kids stayed close to her throughout life.
Yes, actually, because I would say the nicest way to say it, I always say it this way, is that my relationship with her was complex very complex. It was, we had a very unusual childhood in that we had a lot of stepfathers, and she had other relationships as well, which during that time period was not all that common. It was sort of uncommon. And it was a really dysfunctional childhood. There was a lot of love, though. It's so hard to explain to people. She definitely loved her children, but she was kind of a free spirit in a generation. Think about your mom's generation, in a generation where women weren't allowed to be free spirits. And I don't know, it's very complex to say. I was kind of like a parent. I know that's just so weird to say it, but I had big responsibilities with my younger siblings in kind of an unusual way. And my mom kind of needed someone to take care of, not take care of, it's hard to explain. It's very hard to explain, but in a lot of ways, I was the parent. And for
the grown up, you were the grown up figure.
I was, but which always made me be really serious. And I was very studious, academically oriented as well. So, it made me be a really serious kid, I think. And although we had fun, that was the thing about her. She was a lot of fun, but then, somebody had to make sure that dinner was cooked and things like that because she was having fun.
So is she almost more like a sibling?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, well, I so wanted her to be a mother. I think she loved that people would say, "Oh, is this your sister?" She loved that.
Yeah,
I
sure.
hated Gloria, hated that because I longed to have a mother that was truly a mother, or my traditional view of like my friends' mothers, just like a mother. And I just didn't have that. And she was.
Did she know that you resented that or that it bothered you? Or later in life, did you ever have that conversation?
Well, I tried, I should say past tense because she's gone now. I tried a lot of times, even with the help of a really good therapist, and it went bad every time I tried to ever talk about anything. It went bad, went really bad. And then I just, I'm very resilient and, have taken care of myself most of my life. And so I just move on. And you're the same way, I think, in a way of just moving on. Just
totally.
You just suck it up. You just go on. Like, this is just the way life is. It's not going to be different. And I'm, I've had a relatively good adult life. I mean, not perfect, but pretty darn good adult life. In part because, that sort of serious personality, man, I learned a lot from watching mistake after mistake after mistake she would make. And, when I was 12 years old, I'm in the library checking out books on psychology, and I'm reading things, and on child psych, I'm reading like adult books on psychology that say that kids that are from these real dysfunctional childhoods, they turn out to be horrible people, with horrible, they end up in prison or they end up addicted to drugs or whatever. And it's like, okay, I'm 12 and I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to do that. I'm coming from the bad stuff they're talking about. I'm coming from that, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to do that. That's not what I want. I mean, not that I didn't have many indiscretions of youth, but it's just overall my adult life turned out pretty great. And I, not perfect, but pretty good. When I look back now, I'm really pleased. So you can get past those things. I think resilient.
People don't have to be a product of their environment.
Exactly right. And I think that's so important. And I would say with my siblings that I grew up with, the ones that I knew growing up, some managed better than others. That's just the reality. And we all, myself included, have had problems now and then related to the dysfunction that we grew up in. And, I have to, I'm, big believer in therapy. And I've said that before and I'll say it again. And, it pops up once in a, not that I'm one that needs therapy 20 years in a row. It's like things pop up again.
Of course.
And you need to go for a little therapy. And so, I've had my issues here and there, and so have all my siblings here and there. So, but for the most part, for the most part, have done remarkably well. And as older adults, we're close, surprisingly, because we weren't for a long period there. But as we got older, we were. And, my mom had COPD and congestive heart failure. And COPD is
Was she a smoker?
She was not, but she was married to 4 heavy smokers and then had a few other boyfriends that were heavy smokers. Every person she was ever with, which was really
my brother for one.
Yeah, it was really common for that generation. Everybody was a heavy smoker of the generation of our parents. And so no, she never smoked a cigarette in her life, but they considered it secondhand smoke.
Mhm.
Everybody she was with was a heavy smoker. And so yeah, but it's a really hard way to go. And her mind was fine. That was the weird part about it. She just couldn't breathe. And at the end, it is not something you want to see. And she was ready to go at the end, and she went. So thankfully, she did go on. And I really thought, in a way, that because she'd been so sick, like she'd been sick for more than 20 years, gradually,
Wow.
Not as bad as she was at the end, but it'd been gradually getting worse. And I thought it'll be a relief because of that. It wasn't a relief, though. That's what's funny. And even though our relationship was so complicated,
She was your mother. She was your mother.
Exactly. Many things unresolved, many things, like nothing was resolved, basically. Of the things I needed to resolve with her, nothing was resolved. Yet I knew I'd miss her because there's a real fun side of her that I'm not. And I miss that. Like on the weekends, like if I'm really busy at work, I'm not thinking about it. But on the weekends, when I'm, I don't know, just a little more alone time, I think about her and I'd like to call her. And she kind of had her own little reality. It is so hard to explain to people. She just kind of saw things her own way. And it was actually could be really fun for someone who's just like totally realist, like
Yeah.
I didn't see things the same way she did. And it could be fun. And then it could be just drive you crazy when
I'm sure it's daunting at other times.
Well, when she's making bad decisions because she has this fantasy of somebody that she's known for 6 weeks that she's about to marry. It's like, you barely know this person, but she just would have this fantasy. That's just the way, I don't know how else to explain it.
That's the way her mind worked.
And I'd be the one saying, this is not a good decision. This is not a good,
slow down.
And she would just do it anyway. And of course it would be a horrible decision, but just, it was what it was. Anyway, I did love her dearly and I do miss her. And yet, for sure the unresolved is unresolved. It will never be resolved now. And I don't have regrets because I did try, thankfully, I did try on several different big issues to kind of resolve. And it went bad every time I tried. So,
Okay, so kind of in closing-ish, I think it's probably close to that time.
Yeah.
If you could redo your life all over again,
yeah,
what would you do?
So I don't think I do anything different with my mother. I think no big things in my life would I do differently. I think it turned out the way it was meant to be for me. I kind of believe that. There are a couple of things with my late husband, but they're not big things. They're small things. So one of them, this will let you know, I'll just tell you one that's kind of a small thing. He died. I did not expect his death. But anyway, he had an old Wagoneer, like kind of a collector's Wagoneer. I don't know if you know what a Wagoneer is. Mm-hmm. It was like his baby. He loved it a lot, and in perfect condition. And he would have loved for me to go out on a Sunday afternoon, just go for a ride. And I didn't do it one time, not once. So anyway, that's a regret, I guess, but it's a little one.
And why did you?
I just had no interest. I'm going out in some old Wagoneer to go on a Sunday afternoon drive. Man, I am way not a Sunday afternoon drive. That sounds like what, old people do or something. But I so regret not. Why in the world didn't I? It's like you were saying, like, why didn't I do that one little thing that he would have loved so much? It could have been an hour or 2 hours of my life, and it could have made him And I just totally regret it. But it's little things like that. Just a few.
I get it. I
Just-
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would eat at me. It would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause
just why didn't I? I don't know why I didn't. I
you
just
didn't want to.
I didn't want to. I really didn't want
Yeah.
to. It's like I don't want to go riding in a car for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Not
And
fun
it's-
for me.
But you know what? It's one of those things where, I think we all have that selfish streak in us where
Yeah.
if we don't want to do it, we're not going to do it. And then, but we all know when you enter a relationship, there's compromise. So we all do things we don't want
Yes.
to do.
Yes.
And I'm sure you did plenty of things you didn't want to do. So you shouldn't feel
absolutely.
badly about this. It's just
Yeah.
one of those things where, see, now I'm going to be thinking of everything that I don't do that I know my husband would like me to do. And now I'm going to be thinking,
Just
maybe I
choose
should be
one
doing
of
these
them.
things.
What I would say is choose one of them and do it. Because if I could, and there were more than one and there were things I wanted him to do too. I'm sure I just don't remember those. I remember the few little things that he would have loved. And of course he quit asking me to go on a ride in the car because he knew I was going to say, oh my God, no, I'm just so active. I don't want to like ride around in a car,
Sit and be a passenger for hours. No thanks.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's funny talking about this because just today there were two different things that Terry had mentioned that he wants to do and didn't even ask me because he knows I won't want to do either of those.
Yeah.
Because it's things that he's asked me before. And I'm
go
like,
surprise him. Go surprise him. You don't have to do all of them. Go choose one of them.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't do two.
By the way, so my husband's been gone 5.5 years now. That Wagoneer is still sitting in my garage because I can't part with it.
Oh, I get that too.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Even though I didn't really like it ever, now, and I have that little regret about it. And so I'll part with it someday, but anyway, not now.
And did you keep any clothing items or just things that?
I kept a couple of clothing items he had some cowboy boots that he wasn't really a cowboy, but in the time in the 70s when we were dating and stuff, that was really in style. He had some cowboy boots that were nice boots, but very worn out over the years. And
do you keep them in a closet or do you box them?
No, I have do you know what a cedar chest is? Like a big chest. It's actually in my big walk-in closet. The chest is in there. And I have mementos of him in that chest.
Oh, that's nice.
I had them out for a long time. And then that came to a point where that didn't feel good. And I thought, I'm just going to make this chest. I took everything else, whatever, quilts and things were stored in there. I took all of that out. I thought, this is just where I'm going to put things of his that I'm keeping forever. And it's
nice.
A few articles of clothing, but just a few. One shirt, one pair of jeans, and those boots. That's it. And then a few other mementos. But,
that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I don't even like to think about it, but if it were me, I'd probably still have everything because I'm so terrible about throwing anything away or even storing anything, being the hoarder that I am.
Well, I was going to say my mother actually was a real hoarder in later life. She wasn't when she was young.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. And so for that reason, I'm a clean it out and get rid of it. Don't keep it. Other than my garage has a car in it, has a Wagoneer in it, 1985 Wagoneer. Anyway,
Wow.
I know we're out of time, Gloria. Sorry.
No, we're good. But I think that the older I get, I'm saying that I'm a hoarder. And I know I say it somewhat loosely, but I just loathe to get rid of anything because I know someday I'm going to wear it or someday I'm going to need that or someday my kids may want to see it again. But the older I get, the less stuff I want. So I don't buy things anymore because I would love to wake up someday and be a minimalist. Yeah. But one thing, our house in England, I've discovered still has like things from both my boys' school days.
Oh my gosh.
That's so hard for me to get rid of.
Yeah.
And so for years, I'd kind of I'd know it was there, but I'd pretend I didn't and whatever. And now I've kind of decided that if they don't want it and their spouses don't want it, I don't want it. It's time. I mean, there may be a special poem they wrote or a homework assignment that I know they struggled with that there may be something of sincere sentimental value. Other than that, it's going. This is it. That should have been my New Year's resolution this year it's all going.
Well, I did some of that. I downsized. And when I downsized from the big house to the smaller place that I have now, that was a good time to do that. And I had them come. But here's what happened. Oh, they would throw all of it away. I'm the one that those school papers meant something
Yeah,
to.
no. My kids don't want them. They don't want them.
They don't care about them at all. Like,
No.
they don't remember it. Like, I'm the one, like you were saying, like one you really struggled on and then you made a good grade. I remember that. They don't even remember it.
They don't remember, don't care to remember, don't even want to hear about it.
So I kept like a file cabinet, that small file cabinet of things like that I just couldn't part with. And I just told them, it's like, it's got your name on it. When I die, you can throw it away. But until then, and so
give it
it's
to their kids or whatever.
Exactly. It's limited. I got rid of most of it, but I kept a little bit that's in that file cabinet.
I love it. Good for you.
Yes.
So as always, it's great to speak to you. And we didn't even scratch the surface again today.
I know.
I can think of 5 other things that I had in my head for us to talk about, and which means there's going to have to be a part 3 next week.
Okay. Count me in. Count me in.
Okay. I love you. And nice to see your face. We need to see each other in person too soon.
I know. We said it last time.
I know. That's a whole text conversation. We need to come up with dates. And so, yes, we'll do that.
Dates and locations.
I'm happy. I am happy to figure something out.
Sounds good. And I'm off to Italy for a couple of weeks.
When do you go?
As soon as school is over, and I leave in early May.
Wow.
For a couple of weeks.
Very nice.
Tuscany. Yes.
Exciting. So we'll definitely have to talk about that on here.
I know, we will.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. And be sure to follow Gabbing with Girlfriends on here so you never miss an episode. You can also find us on social media for more fun and in-depth conversations. Thank you.